Welcome to today's episode of The Capitalist Investor. You have me, Cool Hand Luke, and you have, as always, Tony the Tiger.
Yeah.
And Derek is on assignment.
I need to get more assignments. Like, what the heck? What the hell's going on?
Do you ever not work, man? Do you ever just take a day off?
I guess not. I'm always here.
You were on assignment in Rome. Shut up.
But that was half work, half pleasure.
I know.
I don't know. That is what
Still,
it is.
I've never been to Europe before. I'd like to go one day.
You'll get your chance.
One day. It's a part of, I guess, the process, right?
It is. It's part of just,
I will take my
one
first.
day will be your time.
Well, I will. My honeymoon is in December, and I will be taking like 10 days off then. So it's the longest day. I stress out about having 5 days off if I ever take a week off for
When's
a
your
vacation. November 16th.
Is it? Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
And then December 6th through 18th is my 12-day cruise I will be going on. So I'm gonna have
12-day cruise.
Yeah.
Good
I'm gonna have tons of anxiety coming back from that one, just because.
Where are you guys going? Around the world?
Builds up. Yeah, we're going to Aruba, Carousel, St. Martin, and St. Croix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. At least here it sounds like they'll be parked there for a day or two, and you get to explore. Is that kind of what it?
Yeah, it just sucks though, because Carousel, I've heard so many good things, and like we park at 7 a.m. and we leave at 4 p.m. So like we barely get any time on the island. So like it's gonna be nice just to hop around, but like sometimes I would like to stay probably a little longer at some of those areas. But hey, cruises, I think they're still the best vacation, and frankly the most affordable, and that maybe can be another top podcast topic sometime.
Never know.
How cruises
All right,
are
so
the best.
we're talking today about how inflation is hitting parents with back to school shopping. It just isn't what it used to be. So the little stat I saw was prior to COVID, so like 2019, back to school spending was around $26 billion. And today we're at about $38 billion. You want to do the math on that, and we're about 8% inflation per year on an annualized basis in the last 5 years. So that is almost a 50% increase. I've been saying it forever. Like, COVID has increased the expenses of everything from 20 to 50%, depending on what you're doing. School, we're at 50%. Yeah. Like, that's a big chunk. And the average of going back to school that parents are paying is around $850, and we're looking at supplies, clothes. I mean, I remember going to school and I had to buy a $100 calculator.
Right.
And that was 20 years ago. I can't imagine what the damn thing costs today. I still use it today. No one in the office knows how to
TI-83,
TI-89 or something. It's an engineering calculator. People don't even everyone in the office just stares at it and says, and they just walk away. No one ever uses my calculator, which is nice. But
they're not gonna. You don't have to share.
Yeah.
It's like the whole going back to school shopping kind of mentality is, that the sharing is not necessarily carrying in today's world, because everyone likes to really care about themselves in a lot of ways because of social media. So what I'm referring to there is a lot of kids are trying to show off now their things to other people. They don't want to share them, but they want to keep them for themselves. So like what I'm talking about is backpacks. Like, you want the nicest backpack. I'm not talking about Louis Vuitton or Gucci. Like, but everyone cares about how they look now in high school or in middle school.
I mean, I kind of felt that pressure 20, 30 years ago when I was in elementary school and high school and stuff. Shoes, clothes, things, right? I can only imagine what it is today, because social media has even, brought it even to the surface even more.
That's right.
And but the thing that is crazy right now, and I'm personally, my daughter's like 4 going on 5, and she'll be in preschool or pre-kindergarten, something along them lines, and like the school that I found for her for this coming year is actually pretty awesome. It was like it was cheaper than the pre-kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, whatever. But all the tuition that I'm paying is lower, and they supply all the supplies.
Yeah, that's
all
nice.
I need to do is really get her some clothes and some new backpack and stuff, and she found one with the unicorn head on it or something. She's crazy, dude.
Being a girl dad, I'm sure it's great.
Oh my God, it's just like, but you have these schools. So like the school that we just left, we're talking to their other parents, and they're saying, hey, we're asking all the parents to like I don't donate or just give us like toilet paper, Kleenex, Clorox wipes. Like they can't even supply their own thing. And public schools are asking for this too.
Right.
So, wow. Like,
Well,
I mean,
the average-
everything's so expensive. That's why our taxes are going to continue to go up, because even some of the public services are going down.
Well, and then you have the average cost. The stat that stood out to me wasn't how much necessarily increased from 2019, which it was up like 50%, which is a lot. It's the average dollar amount that people spend. It's almost $1,000. It's like $900 is the average back to school cost. And look, when you have, again, middle class America already struggling in a lot of ways. Having kids is expensive. I mean, that everyone knows that, but almost $1,000. I mean, that's a lot of clothes. That's a calculator, like you said, might be a couple $100. But then there's a hidden cost that nobody really talks about. Like, you know, when I started growing up in 5th grade is when like phones started becoming popular, like iPhones and like the smartphones. So like in 5th or 6th grade, everyone wanted an iPod to listen to music, you know, in between classes or whatever it be, or they wanted an iPhone, and parents would buy it for them because they wanted to stay in touch with their kids and make sure that they could pick them up from school and stuff.
Right.
So now, like, the game's changed over the past even 20 years to where kids now, it's kind of society says you have to have like a smartphone. So that's another cost that, you know, these parents are providing their kids. Like every kid has an iPhone now, right? They have a Samsung Galaxy phone. I don't know. So that's like $1,000 in itself, whether that's back to school or not. But that's part of back to school because parents want to know, are their kids safe? When do they have to pick up their kids? So that's another cost that's not really talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I can feel, I can understand the pressure that some of these schools are feeling, whether they're public or private, because of, you know, wage inflation. Right? You know, these teachers need to make money. They need to be happy when they go to school because they're teaching our kids, you know, values outside of just arithmetic and reading and phonics and things like that, right? But think about like the utilities that go up for those schools. You know, these schools have to be fully functioned every time, and every part of the school needs to be heated or cooled or, you know, have electricity. Like, and we all know that personally all that stuff has gone up around us.
Well,
so yeah, not only the supplies, but then the cost of going to school is going up.
Gas or whatever it be if you drive your kids to school. Well, I mean, that could be a thing, right? Some, you know, a lot of parents, I mean, I don't have kids yet, but I know when I do have kids, if they went to like a public school or something, I don't know if I'd trust them on the buses nowadays. People are crazy. And kids
well,
are
they
crazy.
can't find drivers. Right. And, you know, and then when the drivers that they do have, you know, I don't know. I don't know about I just know there's a bunch of signs out there saying we need drivers.
Well, it's also
so how
different.
stressed is the drivers that are showing up to work every day?
Right.
You know, and then you get just, you know, typical unruly kids. Like, how much can somebody take? There's not a backlog of drivers.
Well, it's also not taught. You know, most people
Then
know.
you can't even talk to the kid because you're going to get sued or something, or lose your job because you yelled at somebody.
That's true,
right? I remember my drivers, man. They ruled the world with an iron fist. You know, like,
Absolutely.
sit down and I'll stop this bus.
And I still remember my football coach picking me up by my face mask and throwing me 10 yards. You can't do that anymore. You know? So, but like,
well, stop acting up, Luke.
I always act up. But like, also, people only know the situation that they're in or where the area that they live in. They don't really think about outside. So like, there's a difference between, you know, going to school in the city compared to going to school like where I grew up in Martins Ferry, Ohio. Like, when you're in the city, you know, if you don't take the buses and if you maybe have to get your kid to school and you can't drive them, you know, people are now using like Uber or Lyft to get their kids to school.
Really?
Yeah, so like setting up Uber and Lyfts to like pick up their kids at certain times in the morning. So that's like a new economy way of thinking, which I know we've owned Uber and Lyft both in our portfolios, not because of that specifically, but, you know, Uber and Lyft are becoming more important in our society for those parents that want to, you know, outsource that to somebody else and not have the buses take their kids. So that's another thing. Also, what's not talked about is the other side of inflation, not for the parents or the kids, but for the teachers. Yeah. So apparently only a couple $100 usually is given to the teachers for supplies. A lot of teachers, including my mother, who's a school teacher. She's an English teacher. They buy a lot of supplies out of their own pockets.
Yeah.
So they're buying extra folders, extra whatever it be, markers, extra things to
paper,
hand out, paper handout for the students to help them teach.
Scissors.
Exactly.
I mean, just little things, right?
Yeah.
But that stuff adds up, right?
There's a lot of good teachers like my mother that care about their students.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of teachers that don't care about their students. That's a whole different other story.
Right.
That are just there to coach and not necessarily teach. But that's a
I'm
whole different
I'm
rant.
naive. I feel every teacher's out there to do better for the world and
Not
our
every,
kids.
that's for sure. I definitely had some teachers growing up that were not there to teach, just there to coach football.
All right, man. Well, again, and just another example of how inflation's hitting everybody. And this one's topical because the kids are getting ready to go back to school, whether you got them or not. It is a financial burden for a lot of people out there right now.
Well, this is why, and not to get too off topic, and we'll wrap it up, but this is one of the reasons why young couples, young people are scared to have kids because of the cost.
100%, man.
I will always go.
I was scared. I still am scared. I'm just rolling with it now.
I'll always go back though. Cost should never be, and I don't have them, so I can't really speak to it. But cost of a kid should never get in the way of you having a kid if that's what you want to do. Because I've talked to many people before. It's like you never had the money. People have said to me they never had the money to raise the kids. And they were not ready financially to have the kids, but they made it through. They powered through. That's the American way. Is you always find a way to make it through, even though you might not be 100% there, right?
Yeah.
And that's just a part of life. In your 20s and 30s, I've realized there's this mentality of the younger generations that they feel like they're so far behind. But everyone in their 20s and 30s, for the most part, in every previous generation, was never secure financially until their 40s, late 30s maybe. So it's just a part of life. You have to get through that period, and you're going to have to grind. You have to work hard. You have to be stressed out. It's a part of life. And I don't think the young generation thinks that way. They think that they're owed. They should already be multimillionaires already, and that's not the case.
Yeah. Yeah, having kids, they're expensive. I mean, I don't know. I have a daughter now for 4 or 5 years, and there's new expenses. I don't know if it's crippling me, the way everyone makes it sound. But again, she's only 4 or 5. I mean, I guess it's wait till she's 10 and 15 and 20 and the real expenses show. I have no idea, man. Well, I guess we're going to find out. I hope she's smart and gets a scholarship.
If she takes after you,
athletic.
If she takes after you,
she's in trouble.
I'm sure
she's
you're
in trouble.
I'm sure your wife as well. I just never really met her too much, but I'm sure if she takes after at least you're going to be fine. So.
All right, she's in trouble. She takes after me. All right,
funny.
Anyway. All right. Well, thanks for listening this week. Our episode for this day, and if you have any questions, concerns, topics for the show, info@SWP Connect, and we'll bring your topic to light and have some insight on it. And thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.
The opinions expressed in the podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any investment, legal, financial, or tax strategy. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. Please consult a qualified professional about your individual needs.